Hi, and welcome all. High or low, butcher, baker, tall or small. I am Grimnir, and this is the Grimnir Gate. So, another week of back-breaking toil has gone by, fighting the forces of darkness. Let's sit down with friends and foes alike and take a cold one of Barlam and Butterbur's best. Let's stick it to the man and enjoy a tale or two. Welcome to Tavern Talk, this week housed by the Prancing Pony in Bree Town. As I have said before, I still love this game, and this week I got a clear reminder why when we visited the Old Forest and the Barrow-Downs. These two areas are connected to one of my favorite passages in The Lord of the Rings, and I am certainly not alone in believing that. That is lore-wise, of course. As a player, the memories also came back to me. It can be a little bit scary and quite frustrating as your characters get lost in there, searching for flowers, water lilies and strange places, fighting warped trees, spiders, old man willow or the dead. But still, I really think they have made an excellent job, the developers, not only by including it in the storyline of the game, but also in the way they portray it. In my modest opinion, coming close to matching my experience from reading the book, both graphically and story-wise. And this is, graphically speaking, an old game, not as old as Thorn himself, but still quite old. So, what is the feeling that I get? Why is this passage so important, even though it clearly could be left out in the movie adaptation without any major cracks in the storyline? This is what I think, and stay with me now because it might get a bit confusing along the lines, but I will do my best to explain. Let's start with the forest itself, lying between the Brandywine River and the Barrow-Downs, with a dangerously strange Withywindle flowing through it. The forest is a remnant of an ancient primordial forest that most probably was there at dawn of time, stretching all the way through Eriador to its counterpart Fangorn in the south. Now filled with malice and mischief since being cut down by generations of Edain and Sauron's minions alike. It is dark and tangled with a will of its own, like the Taur im Duinath in the long-gone Beleriand. So the roots of the old forest both figuratively and literally go back, way back in time. This is also true for the Barrow-Downs. It is believed that the first mounds and monoliths here were erected at the beginning of the Edain in Middle-earth, thousands of years ago, even before the ancestors of the three houses crossed the Blue Mountains and came to Beleriand. And as time passed, many men of Eriador have been laid to rest here. Among the last were the men of Cardoland, even some princes, that fought the Witch King of Angmar. They finally got overwhelmed and fled into the Barrow-Downs and the forest. Eventually, most of them were lost to the Great Plague, and when the Witch King prevailed, he sent evil spirits to inhabit the Barrow-Downs. And finally, we have the oldest of them all, Forn, or Iarvan ben Adar, oldest and fatherless, or Orlad as he is known to men. Forn remembers the first raindrop and the first acorn. He knew the dark under the stars when it was fearless, before the Dark Lord came from the outside. And I am not going into all the speculations about who Tom Bombadil might be, even though there is a few more appealing theories than others. Goldberry, the river daughter herself, an ancient spirit of nature, says to Frodo that Tom is the master of wood, water and hill, not the owner, but the master, like Old Forest, the wood, Barrow-Downs, the hills. And his powers are obviously great, especially when it comes to such a terrible thing as the One Ring. So Tom is the only being in the story that seems to be immune to the One Ring's influence. But at the same time, he is not bothered by it more than by any other shiny trinket. Let's just simply say it in the words of Goldberry. He is. Okay, time to sum it all up and get back to the trail. The Old Forest, the Barrow-Downs, and last but not least, Tom Bombadil himself are three key elements in this favorite passage of mine. The whole passage from the entrance of the old forest through the high hay to the exit of the Barrow-Downs after being saved by Tom is like its own adventure or tale inside the larger tale concerning the War of the Ring. It has its connections to the main story, like the dreams or visions that Frodo have in Tom's house about the future, or the blades of Westerness in Barrow-Downs that becomes the fall of the Witch King, and so on. But it can clearly be left out, without wreaking havoc to the main intrigue in the story. Still, it was missed by me and I guess many, many others, I reckon. Why? On my part, after a lot of contemplating, I have reached this conclusion. And it gets a bit confusing, so bear with me and hopefully you can wrap some of it around your head. So this smaller story, this adventure in the forest and the Barrow-Downs actually twists the whole thing inside out, in my opinion, or feeling maybe. Even though it is the smaller tale, it somehow, with the strong and powerful references and links to the past of the world, the most ancient past of the world, manages to reflect that the main story, the War of the Ring and its major forces, are not that big in comparison to the most ancient powers, the nature and history of Arda itself. It's not belittling the story, the main story, it just embodies and reinforces the greatness of the larger tale of Tolkien's whole creation. Tom Bombadil, the Old Forest and the Barrow-Downs has been around forever. So that might be like the magic that captures me. The ancientness and a part of a greater whole that is almost unfathomable. Wow, that was quite the lecture. It's more like a vision maybe than something that reason can get to. But to lighten the mood a little bit, we will finish this week with another joke, of course. I'm not sure if it's the captain or the hunt. I think it's Nirgrim, the captain, that's brought this one. So, a short one. An elf, a human, and a dwarf walk into a tavern. The elf orders a wine, the human orders a beer, and the dwarf orders a frothy ale. The barkeep sets the drinks down before them, and each one notices a fly in his drink. The elf frowns, turns up his nose, and pushes the glass away. The human frowns, flicks the fly out of his beer, and starts drinking. The dwarf frowns, carefully picks up the fly out of his ale, and yells, "Spit it out! Spit it out! It's mine, I tell you!" Okay, think you've stolen that one somewhere. Sounds like you guys. Thank you, that's all. Take care.